I used to live on the outskirts of a desert. I have lived there my entire life in a very small town. The town was very small, but it had a big rural area in which I and my family would reside. I would have to go every single day, to school and back. The house we used to live in was quite big. It had about 3 bedrooms, and I lived there with my parents and my 2 sisters. Every day, I used to have to lead the cows we had into the barn and all of the chickens into the chicken coop. That was part of the chores after school, and I have done that almost every single day since I was around 8 years old. My grandparents used to visit me and my family from time to time. Every time they came, it was like a party for me and my sisters. They always brought gifts for us. So the days were mainly calm. Although we were living in an area that was not very populated, we were always told to stay aware of our surroundings even when the main chores were finished. Every once in a while, one of our cows or chickens would just suddenly disappear. We did not know what it was at the time, but we figured it could be some wild animal, or maybe it just somehow ran off by itself in the desert. And if it did that, then it would probably die in just a few days. It wasn't until I was around 17 years old that my mom got cancer and she had to get treatment for it. As a result, I was left alone to take care of my sisters for long times in a row, while my mom and my dad were taking care of her cancer. In these days, I had a lot of trouble since my middle sister, who was 15 years old at the time, was very rebellious. She used to sneak out at night alone and go and meet with her friends. When I finally forbade her from doing that, because it was fairly dangerous, since the houses were pretty spaced out from each other, she started just escaping during the night. Because she used to take her bicycle at night to ride to the other girls' houses, I started trying to lock up her bicycle. That also proved to not be effective, since she actually found a way to get into her room that I used to lock the bicycle in and get it outside. I was not informing my mom and dad about this, because at the time, I really thought that they had their hands full with the whole cancer treatment, and I did not want them to have to worry about my sister too. Eventually, I finally gave up, and I just set up with her one simple rule, that she would be home at around midnight. That actually was effective, because she started to go out and come back before midnight. My little sister was only 6 years old. She actually never gave me any trouble at all. She was the only one who told me about the other sister's little escapades during the night. She was well behaved and never gave me any problems. One day, I was hanging around at home. It was about night already, and the oldest sister had gone out to see her friends. It was right at night when I started hearing some commotion outside with the cows. The cows were making a lot of noise, and that was not normal. I went outside to see what all of the commotion was about. Once I was outside, I looked around. I brought with me my flashlight and a handgun that my dad used to keep around. I decided to walk a little through the property in the direction of the cows, since some of them ran away. We had 2 big dogs at the time, but I was in such a hurry that I forgot to take them. The moon was also a full moon that day, so it was fairly easy to see, even without the flashlight. It did not take too long until I got to the edge of the property leading to the desert. I then spotted a busted up part of the fence. I got closer to check it out. Once I was there, I saw a clear trail of blood coming from inside the property and leading outside. I was kind of angry already, since if it was a predator, it had probably just killed a young cow and was dragging it outside the property as we speak. I gathered my courage and stepped outside the fence, following the blood trail through the dry land. I was finally in front of a big stone, and I could clearly see the blood trail going behind it. I turned off my flashlight and started slowly approaching the stone. I could hear movement behind it. My plan was to sneak on whatever it was and shoot it. When I finally got too close to the corner of the stone, I was hit by a strong smell of rotten flesh. I stopped. I thought about old legends that my grandfather used to tell me, and they just passed through my mind. Thoughts about the Olgoi, a creature that used to live in the desert that had a strong smell of rotting flesh. Until that point, I was hearing noises of something being dragged and pulled around on the ground on the other side of the stone, but suddenly, the noises all just stopped. I started hearing a slow dragging sound coming from my direction that I was facing. At this point, I was very, very scared. I even thought about just turning around and running, but then I remembered that if it was a predator, it would probably chase me, and then it would kill me. So I just started slowly backing off. As I was backing off, this thing finally showed itself. A gigantic worm, almost as big as a cow. It was of a reddish color and had a large hole in front of it, showing off layers and layers of sharp, small, white teeth. The thing did not seem to have eyes, but it surely somehow knew I was there, so it must have been able to see somehow, or maybe it could sense me with something, I don't know. Because as soon as it got in front of me, it lifted part of its body and became almost my own height. I finally lost it. I grabbed the handgun and just shot the thing about 3 times. The thing made a large squirmy sound and fell behind a bit. I did not want to see what happened, so I started immediately running. I could hear the thing shrieking behind me. As I was around 100 yards away from my house, I realized I was being chased. The adrenaline actually made me run faster, at a speed that I didn't even know that I could run. I actually made it to the door, opened it up, and then closed it right behind me. As soon as I got inside, I screamed for my little sister. I heard no answer. Sometimes at night, when she could not sleep, she would go outside to have a walk with the dogs. I felt my heart sinking in as I thought about my sister outside with that thing. I went to the nearest window and started screaming for her to come home. Then I actually saw her in the distance with the 2 dogs on a leash, looking very confused as to why I was screaming. As she got closer, I saw the thing going in her direction. The dogs started barking. The thing approached her and the dogs broke out from the leash. They started biting the thing, and I screamed to my sister to come home. She was screaming in a panic. The thing actually got a big bite out of one of our dogs, almost chopping it in half. The other dog would keep viciously attacking the thing. My sister actually listened to me in the midst of all of that chaos and just came running. I helped her get back in the house through the window. I closed it and got away from the window just in time to hear my other dog whimpering. As the house had a room on the 2nd floor, my little sister's room, me and my sister went upstairs and hid there for a while. As midnight was approaching, I started thinking about my other sister. She would come home, and I didn't know if that thing was still outside. It was then that I started hearing stuff breaking downstairs and a very familiar dragging sound. The thing had somehow made its way into the house. My sister started crying again, but I asked her to keep quiet so that the thing could not find us. As I started thinking, I remember my old grandfather saying to me that the Olgoi was very sensitive to sounds, according to the legends. I then started thinking about a plan to take me and my sister out of the house so that we could escape and meet my other sister. My sister had one of those clockwork alarm clocks. I slowly got out from under the bed where I was hiding with my sister and grabbed the clock. I then made a signal for her to come to me. I looked at the window of the 2nd floor and pointed it to my sister. She started shaking her head repeatedly because she understood what I was going to do. I slowly opened up the window and put half of my body outside. I made her sit on the window as well. Then I began messing with the mechanism of the clock, setting the alarm for the hour that we were at the time. The alarm clock went off, making a lot of noise. I threw the clock inside the room near the door, grabbed my sister, and jumped from the window. I could hear the room's wooden door being torn apart by the creature right when we jumped. We fell on the ground, but thankfully, we were not hurt very badly. I grabbed my little sister, put her on my shoulders, and started running. I ran, and soon enough, I found my sister riding her bicycle home. We waited around 10 more days until Mom and Dad came home. We were at a friend's house since we did not want to go back there. When my father and my mother arrived, we went to our house. Most of the cows and the chickens either have died or just run off. The whole house had these weird markings on the wall. like if something had scratched it with abnormal strength. My mom did not believe me at first, but my dad talked to her. He also did not believe it was the Olgoy, but he did believe that it was some kind of predator that scared us that night and actually tried to kill us. I had to live over another 5 years there, and I did not spend a single day without looking behind me, scared that that thing could come back at any moment. Hey, so I am completely hopeless and I don't know what to do. This story will come in parts, otherwise it will just be a wall of text. So, when this happened to me, my friends and I are obsessed with Ghost Adventures. Literally, we watch that show every single time that we hang out. My friend suggests, hey, we should go ghost hunting. There is a heat lightning storm outside. We go to the cemetery near my friend's house. We don't see all that much, but we are scared shitless and we run away like pussies. We decide, okay, we are never doing that again. While I'm driving home, I look in the rearview, and my 2 friends are in the passenger seat and one in the back seat, but I see one person in the 3rd row of seating. I turn around to see if someone is there and there isn't. I look in the rearview mirror and no one is there either. I shrug it off as my brain just being psychologically freaked out, and I do not think much of it. Months pass by. We forgot pretty much everything that happened that night before. We started hanging out with new friends, one of which has a spirit attached to them. I'm a skeptic. We start going to this baby cemetery. Nothing much starts happening until the 3rd time that we go. Let me set up the scene for you. The cemetery is in the middle of a wealthy neighborhood, surrounded by black fencing. In order to get into the cemetery, you have to go all the way around into the dense forest in the back. There is an archway with a fence that always remains open. We have gone there very late at night, and there is a streetlight near the property, but it's not bright enough to light up the property. The cemetery looks like it's lit up completely, with warm orange or red lighting. It was quite welcoming. So, we finally decide to enter the cemetery. We walk into the cemetery, and we immediately hear growling. We all laugh nervously and shrug it off as coyotes, and we just continue walking to the cemetery. I look up at the archway, and I see a statue with its legs hanging over the arch. It looks like a young girl with pigtails, and it's made of stone. We enter the cemetery, and there are some gusts of warm air and some gusts of cool air. Everyone is very tense and nervous. There is more growling. Everyone kind of huddles together and just laughs. I look into the forest and see a silhouette of a man looking directly at us. It looks like something is on his head, but I can't quite make it out, before my friend tells me that she does not feel safe here, and we all agree and walk out. I look back up at the archway to look at the statue, and it is not there anymore. I get into the car while my friend is yelling prayers, and we all drive away. 2 days later, we go back. Yeah, I know. We are so dumb. The cemetery is back again to being dark like before. Hey, let's go back in. I and half of my friends refuse, but the other half decide to walk through the forest, and we all follow them. It's eerily quiet because it's snowing and windy. We hear a deep growling again. It sounds like talking. It's just the wind, I tell everyone, and everyone kind of agrees for the time being, so they don't shit themselves. I don't know why we did not turn around right then and there. None of us felt safe, but we're idiots and just kept going. We all grab a partner and walk around the cemetery looking at tombstones and graves. I feel someone looking at me. I look towards my car and I see the man again. He is wearing a mask that looks like it has a hummingbird beak on. He ducks behind my car. I stare over there for several seconds, waiting for him to pop back up, and he doesn't. I hear little girls whispering. My friend claims that someone hit his face. Everyone is on edge, and we just leave. I get to my car and look all around and underneath my car. People are asking me what's up, and I just say nothing. I need a cigarette and some Taco Bell. Let's go. We all pile into the car, and my friend tells me, go, go, go. I speed off and ask my friend what he saw. He said that he saw the statue in the middle of the cemetery, which was not there before. We all go to Taco Bell, and my friend, let's call him D, does not eat when he usually shovels down food like a garbage disposal. I ask him if he's okay, and he says yeah. We all finish eating, and he ends up leaving soon after. 2 hours later, he calls me, telling me he's going to take his own life. I eventually calm him down and tell him it'll all be okay. He ends up going to bed, and I see him the next day, and he is perfectly fine. I think whatever, maybe he just had a panic attack last night. It happens. We tell each other we're not going back to the cemetery ever again. But we do go back to the cemetery. Don't worry, this is the last time we ever go. We did not even go inside the cemetery. We just stood on the sidewalk looking at it. We immediately hear little girls talking in a fast and hushed whisper. D is with us. He turns around and tells me to unlock the car. I do so, and he sits in the back because he feels sick. We all stare at the cemetery. I feel like I am being watched, and I immediately know who it is. I've coined the term the Hummingbird Man just for him. I look around, but I do not see the Hummingbird Man. I hear a bird chirping, which is odd because it's 2 a.m. and really cold outside. It chirps a few times, and suddenly, we all silently turn around and go back to the car. D is standing outside the car, obviously pretty shaken up. He tells me, don't go in there. Why not, D? Just wait a few minutes. We all assumed he farted or something, and he finally fesses up. OP, there was someone in the driver's seat. He was wearing a mask that had a beak. He just sat and stared forward at you guys while you were at the cemetery. I looked and saw it, and I got out of the car. We looked in the driver's seat, and of course he was not there. We get in the car, and my friend hung a rosary off of my rearview window. I start telling them all about my experience with the Hummingbird Man, and they are all shocked. That morning, D actually shows up at my house. He told me he could not sleep last night. I asked him why. Someone was walking around my house last night. The weird thing is, my mom was at work, and my brother was at his girlfriend's house. We ate breakfast, watched some TV, and just hung out. That afternoon, we all went to Noodles and Company for lunch, and just acted like nothing happened last night. D did not eat breakfast or lunch, he just stared at his food. D excused himself to go back to his car while we were there, and I followed him a few minutes later, and he was just sobbing in his car. What's wrong with me, OP? I don't know, D. You should get some help. No, I'm okay. That night we met with a medium. The first thing he says is that he can already tell that we have problems. He met with all of us for the first time that day, and he knew nothing about us prior, yet was able to tell us things about ourselves that are not common things. Like, this dude told me, your dad passed away, right? Right around Halloween a while ago. My dad passed away in October, about 1.5 years ago. He tells D that he needs to see a doctor or a therapist, and that there is an extremely negative spirit attached to him. D ignores him and sits on his phone. The medium grabs his hands and starts yelling at his face. D, if you do not take me seriously, then you are going to end up killing yourself next Thursday. Of course, my phone goes off because I forgot to put it on silent. My significant other was calling me, and I quickly just told him I would call him back. After I get off the phone, I realized how late it was and decided I needed to go home since I had to start work early. I shoot my friends a text that I have to leave, and I drive home. I drove past the road that the neighborhood with the cemetery is on, and right before I drive over that road, I see the Hummingbird Man standing on a sidewalk outside of a gas station. I got no sleep that night. I kept hearing chirping. The next day, I realized that I never actually got to hear what was wrong with me. I went over to my friends after work. D is inside the house. Everyone meets me outside, and we sit in the driveway. I already feel uneasy. Apparently, they had to perform an exorcism on D last night. Honestly, I was not surprised. Apparently it didn't work. The spirit is still attached to him. I was not surprised at this either. I tell them I saw the Hummingbird Man last night. My friends told me that the medium made no mention of me, besides, she will be okay. We hung out with D, and he seemed very blank and vacant. We took him outside and started talking about Christianity, and D has a coughing fit and vomits. He immediately goes home angrily after that. I texted him that night, and he said that he was okay, and wanted to go to bed. I find out the next day that he drove around all night and did not sleep, and ended up driving over 200 miles that night. Weeks pass by. D is still alive, thankfully, but he cannot drive by a cemetery without grabbing at the handle of the car door and trying to jump out of the car while it is still moving. Every time we drive by a church or a Christian store, he feels sick. I have not seen the Hummingbird Man since then, but I still hear chirping sometimes while driving or while I'm in my room. My friend claims that once, when we were hanging out, she heard chirping right when I did too, even though we were in the car listening to music that for sure did not have any chirping noises in it. And then I saw him last night. I went to class last night, and one of my friends who was not involved in any of this paranormal stuff, I met up with him about an hour from where any of this happened at some random tiny vape shop. I don't vape, but he does. We're outside, and a homeless man is walking around the street, just screaming. He turns a corner, and we cannot see him, but we can hear him. "Hey yo man, you look like a bird. Are you a fucking bird? Fucking beak and all. Fuck you, fucking bird," etc., etc. He shuts up and quickly walks across the street and is no longer yelling. He is just walking and refuses to turn around. I instantly knew it was probably the Hummingbird Man. My friend, we will call him A, knows nothing about this. He jokes around and makes fun of the man, and we start talking about what the Bird Man probably looked like. I felt like I had a pit in my stomach the whole entire time. Eventually, I had to go back to my car, which is parked around the corner where the Hummingbird Man was/is. I walk to my car and have a firm grip on the self-defense weapon in my pocket. No one is there. I drive home, and my heart is racing the whole time. 10 minutes away from home, I'm driving past a forest preserve. The Hummingbird Man is on the side of the road, which was so damn bizarre because there were a bunch of cars around. Every other time I saw the Hummingbird Man, I was alone and no one was really around. I finally got a good look at his mask. It's like a wooden tribal mask with a long hummingbird beak, like a plague doctor mask, and colorful blue and green feathers on the top and the sides. His body is hunched over and all black, and his fingers are long and sharp. I pull up to my house and get out of the car. Birds are chirping all around my house, but there are no birds in sight. As I was typing this, I was sitting in silence, and I just heard chirping right outside. But that's the end of my story. The help I need, I guess I just need to know who the hell is this Hummingbird Man. Just to add to my story, I have no idea how I forgot about this. It honestly feels like I repressed this memory, and while typing up the story, I just spontaneously remembered. I was about to get into the car from my friend's house. I see the shadow of a man that for some reason I just knew was the Hummingbird Man. I get into my car and drive home. I keep seeing weird shadows, and I feel uneasy the whole drive home. I approach my neighborhood, and I feel sick. I turn left and just keep driving around. I keep trying to call my SO. It goes to voicemail every single time. I am just driving around. I end up taking a back road to get back to my house. As I'm driving, I see another shadow of a man, the Hummingbird Man. I speed up, terrified, and at this point, I just want to go home. I end up slowing down about a quarter mile from the next intersection. As I'm about to cross the intersection, the car blows the stop sign and turns straight into my lane, and he and I are facing each other head on. I slam on my brakes and swerve, honking my horn and looking at him. It was this typical, slightly chubby Hispanic man with a mustache, wearing a plaid shirt. A few seconds after this happens, my phone rings and it's my SO. I tell him about what happened and I go home immediately, I get out of the car and I hear chirping. It's 3 a.m., so why the hell are there birds? Oh yeah, Hummingbird Man. I did not sleep that night and just stayed on the phone with my SO all night long. I was a trucker for a few years back in the early 2000s. Most of the time things went pretty smoothly. I would get from point A to point B and then just move on to the next job. But being a trucker, you spend a lot of time on the road, both day and night. So it's not too uncommon to experience something out of the ordinary in this line of work. I've seen quite a few things that I could not explain. For example, I was driving north on the I-5 to make a delivery in Washington. It's pretty late, and I've been on the road for several hours. I'm fighting to keep my eyes open, but eventually I give in and pull into a rest area. Just for the record, I'm probably in Oregon at this point. I may have been in far northern Cali though. The lot is entirely empty except for my rig. I lock my doors, get undressed, slip underneath the sheets in the cabin, and set the alarm for around dawn. I've got plenty of time to make my window. I roll over onto my side, where I have a slight view of the forest edge bordering the rest area. Through weary eyes, I spot a figure at the tree line, just standing behind a fence. I rub my eyes and I look again. No one is there. I must be dreaming or something. I close my eyes and lead my thoughts to less frightening things. I am about to fall asleep when I hear what sounds like someone pulling on the driver's side door handle. Click, click, click. Hello? There is nothing but silence. I turn onto my stomach and look through the window above my pillow. Nothing is there. I rest my head on the pillow and try to fall asleep. I feel a trickle of unease building inside me. Click, click, click from the passenger side door. I immediately sit up and look out the door window. In the dim moonlight, I see a humanoid figure duck out of view. I scramble to look outside the window on the other side of the cabin, but I see nothing. Who or what is trying to get in here? I sit motionless for what felt like several minutes, the silence rending my ears. The silence is broken by the sound of a moderately sized rock hitting the passenger side door, then another hitting the window. I immediately grab my keys and turn the engine and lights on, illuminating the surrounding area. I see a scrawny, naked human a few feet away from the door, staring maliciously at me through the window. He looks very off. Sunken eyes, grey varicose veins, and completely devoid of hair. He lets out a guttural shriek and runs at the door, grabbing at the handle and slamming against the window with his grimy palms. No time to get dressed. I put the truck into gear and I peel out of there, fueled with enough adrenaline to get me at least another hour away before I stop at another rest stop. I barely slept at all that night. I am not a trucker, but I am friends with a lot of them, and I used to work with a lot of truck drivers. This happened to me in 2014. I was working for a lumberyard. Monday morning, I am really hungover and helping load staircases into a box truck for delivery to another branch of the lumberyard. The truck drivers are two guys I normally say. They're both in their 30s. One used to be a Marine. Both are hardcore bikers. They're both pretty decent guys. I was talking about how our weekends were. The truck drivers tell me they did not get home until after midnight the previous Friday. Naturally, I asked why. They said they had a lot of lumber to drop in Paw Paw, WV, from Ranson before they could leave. The lumber needed to be dropped by Saturday morning. They had a long, busy day and were held up in traffic, so they were not able to leave for the last drop until almost 7. They get to Paw Paw, and they have to take a rough gravel road to drop point for shed being built. Paw Paw is a pretty small town. Truckers said that every single house they passed, people were just standing outside, staring at the truck as it drove past. They said it was incredibly eerie, having everyone just staring at them. They just brush it off and get to the drop point and unload their shit. They drive back into town and stop at a gas station for food. They come outside and notice a car parked beside the truck. The guy inside the car was just staring at them while they walked to the truck. Before they get in, the guy gets out and walks towards them, a pint of Jim Beam in hand. He tells them they had better not take the road they came in on. Not tonight, since there had been an accident and the road is blocked off. They are getting in the truck when he says there have been an awful lot of disappearances lately and to keep their doors locked at all times. They ask what of a road he thinks they should take, already thinking he's just a drunk. He tells them to take a back road. The drivers look it up on their GPS and see that it's pretty windy and unpaved. They are not too keen on it, but it is the fastest way. They leave and see the guy swigging out of his bottle. They are on the gravel road, driving through the woods. It's already 10 p.m. They pick up the pace a little when something really slams into the passenger side door. What the hell was that? They stop the truck, thinking it was a deer. The guy on the passenger side is about to open up his door to take a look. Again, something rams into the door. The passenger backs away from the door and locks it. Go, go, go. The driver shifts into gear, and just as they are about to pull away, the passenger looks outside and sees a hairy humanoid thing looking back at him from around 5 feet away. This thing charges at the truck again. The driver stomps on the gas and flies away. They both look in the rearview mirror and can see some tall, dark figure standing in the road behind them, just watching them. They arrive back at the lumberyard. The passenger door hit a huge dent and does not open too easily anymore. No one else was there, so they leave the truck and just go home.